So, there are a few questions that I wish to answer today on Godwinson. You've been sending a lot of your messages in since the last video, and I think that the ones I've chosen are very fertile ground for the ideas that I wish to convey. The first of those messages, it reads, I broke through the diamond wall, and I got a full-time job. How do I make sure I don't repeat the same day again and again, like a wage slave hog day, since I ended neat hog day? What should I look for? And then the message ends here. I'll answer that first. What should I look for? Well, what do you want out of life? And I don't want you to answer a fast car or a new phone, because I don't believe that and you don't believe that. What do you really want to do with your life? The best way of finding out what you want to do and what you want out of life is imagining yourself at 40, 50 years old. Do you want to be that age and be lonely? Probably not. Do you want to be that age and not have a family around you? Probably not. Do you want to be that age and still paying rent and not own your own home? Probably not. These are basic goals that should really be what a young fellow like yourself is striving for, and they are some of the easiest things to attain, they really are. You can easily not feel lonely if you reconnect with your family. If you throw yourself into positive communities of people who are not going to judge and criticize your life choices before you've even made them. The best way of finding out who the right people are to be friends with is by finding out whether they have large debt, which they aren't paying off, whether they are living sexually promiscuous lifestyles, whether they have no control over what food they put into their bodies. All of these things are signs, are just some of the signs of a person who is not preparing for the future and has no regard for themselves. If you tell someone that your dream is having a family and a nice house by the time you're, let's say, 30, if that's your dream and you tell someone that that's your dream and they laugh or say anything to sway you from achieving that dream, go. Leave. Do not talk to that person ever again, because they are literally toxic, and their negative attitude, I guarantee, will only serve to bring you down to their level. Now, I said that owning your own home is one of the easiest things to attain, and I stand by that. If you cut out all of the needless trinkets you spend your payslip on, junk food, video games, subscription services, alcohol, if you actually sit down and work out how much money you're spending on all of that stuff and realize that this is money which you can squirrel away for a deposit, for a mortgage, on a home, if you save right and you have a good attitude to work, where you'll be striving for more than just the minimum wage job that you're actually in, you'll get a mortgage in a relatively short amount of time. Just don't be distracted. Don't be swayed. Do not engage with people who find these parochial dreams a possibility. And finally, the best way of avoiding the wage slavery mindset is by seeing the getting of a job as the first step and not the last. You'll only become a wage slave if you completely shut your brain down and give up on your dreams. Chase them. Chase your dreams in your free time. When you come home from your 9 to 5, don't see that as the end of your productivity for the day. Make sure you do something worthwhile that will have a positive effect upon yourself. Meet a friend, go to the gym, do a job search. It doesn't even matter if you're employed. You should always be looking for the next best thing. Higher pay, more hours, a better work environment. It doesn't even matter which field or industry you're looking for, because all you're doing is looking at the bottom line and working towards owning your own home. The security, the stability of that. And along the way, I guarantee you, you're going to meet someone, if you're doing it right, you'll meet someone who also shares these goals, and she'll respect you enough to start a family with you. And if she doesn't respect what you want from life, guess what? She's not the one for you. No matter how pretty she looks, she's not compatible with who you are or where you are going. Now, I want to turn my attention over to something that another member of the audience sent to me. It reads very simply, I have a question for you. How does one relearn to feel shock? I think it's a very good question, and by incredibly great fortune, somebody else wrote to me providing an excellent answer. I'll read it and then I'll give my own thoughts. It begins, "Really enjoyed your newest video. I left a comment saying I was a NEET for around 6 years. My late 20s, early 30s were spent living back at home, being a loser. What shook me out and got me moving was being diagnosed with diabetes and getting into a fight with my dad, where I ended up punching him. Two things that, at the time, seemed like the end of the world got me off my arse and into a decent career where I'm almost on my feet on my own. Not saying NEETs need to contract a disease or punch their dads to get out of the life, but it will most likely be something that, at the time, seems awful, that will be the great catalyst for change. Great video, Godwinson, you're doing God's work." And then he says, "I guess my question would be, if you could talk about other stories of former NEETs and what got them to fix their lives. My guess would be lots of similar stories. I can't imagine many NEETs getting out of the life, quote unquote, by anything other than a shock of some sort. Also, I recently heard very good advice. If you want to meet girls, you have to do things you hate." And then he says, "It's true. And I think it applies to breaking out of NEEThood. You have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to do things you hate doing. You have to, or you will never escape. Please share your thoughts, Godwinson. Thank you." So a few things here. How does one relearn shock? Well, you have to stop convincing yourself that you are numb to the world. That's the first thing. It's very easy to convince yourself that you are desensitized to everything when you witness the world through a computer screen. A good friend of mine, he's a junior doctor, and he once told me that in his lectures, him and his cohort would watch videos of dissections, autopsies, things to further understand the human anatomy, right? And then it came to actually interact with a dead body, with a corpse, and he relayed to me that even though he convinced himself that he's desensitized to all of this, the fundamental core of his humanity was shaken. There was an intrinsic part of himself that still felt shock when interacting with a real-life dead body. Now, if you go out into the world and you are the only face amongst a sea of faces that are alien to you, if you are alone, if you feel as though that which was once yours and belonged to you, if you feel that that has become completely overrun, swamped, assimilated, then you can go one of two ways. You can embrace the innate anger that you'll feel and harness that to rise up. You can take actions, you can sort yourself out, right? So you can sort other people out. Or you can deny yourself. You can stick your head in the sand, you can recognize that your identity, your country, your culture is being encroached, but do nothing about it, because the realization you've convinced yourself has drained any hope, any emotion, any shock that could be felt. Except if you're any sort of person, then you'll not black pill yourself into thinking that you have no effect upon the world. Now, the other fellow, who was a NEET in his late 20s, early 30s, he said that what shook him into action was a life-changing diagnosis and a fight with his own father, which, of course, had the potential to end that person's life. Not the father's life, but his life. He could have quite easily given up, not pursued any endeavour, because what's the point? Too old, my health isn't great, my family life is terrible. Except what he did was use those events as a catalyst, something that shocked him into action. Likely he was too ingrained in the NEET lifestyle that he did not believe that he could still feel shock. But genuinely shocking real events occurred which, surprise, surprise, shocked him. Shocked him into action. If you're listening to me and you think that you can't feel shock, you are denying yourself, and I'm certain that one day in your life, hopefully it's soon, but one day something will happen to you and you will be shocked. And please, please God, use that shock to thrust yourself into action, to rise up, to rebuild your life. And if you are listening out there and you have been shocked into action, you have risen up, please do write to me with your story, what the events were, what really got you to feel shock again. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening.